No better time than the present.
No better time than the present. We'll kick her off here. Welcome to the podcast. Both of you, welcome back now that you've both been on it. Full Fletch podcast. Fullfletcharchery.com. I'm gonna try the promo at the beginning. Whatever promo, whatever you want to call it. Fullfletcharchery.com. Get your custom archery arrows built by yours truly. Yep, Brooks has his right there. Uh, Justin at fullfletcharchery.com. You can reach out to me there, or you can go to our website, fullfletcharchery.com. Fill out any of the forms on there, either contact us or a full request form to kind of tell me about your current setup and what you're looking for. We can get you some archery arrows for the rest of hunting season set up, or if you want something for your 3D shoots, or if you're already looking forward to next year, we can get it going. So there's my little plug. That way we don't have to save it for the end. We
Here,
got,
I got a plug for you.
oh,
Here's your plug.
yep, it had a vein get ripped off there, but yep.
Yeah. And this arrow was built by him, except for the broadhead.
I did not build the broadhead. You're right.
He's not that good. Not
Not
yet.
yet. Not yet. So I mean I didn't see it going this way, but I have looked at, because I went on a deep dive of broadheads, and it's like I want like the perfect broadhead for me, and I just wasn't finding that in the current products that are out. I'm gonna try more come like next year, and like really, I guess, test out what I can this upcoming summer leading into next season. But it's like, man, if I had the means to do it, like I would try to build and manufacture my own broadhead that like I would want. But I mean, there's so many out there now that it's like, well, it probably exists, but
Yeah.
maybe not in the material I would like, or what have you. Um, you know, to me, and it might just be my opinion, I think your broadhead is worth every penny. So, like if it's a $300 set for three broadheads, like I might be willing to go that far to do it. If it's
Yeah.
if it's the proper broadhead. Um, and it was really cool. I reached out to Ranch Fairy. He's like the guy I listen to the most, I would say, as far as broadhead talk. Just because he's kind of doing some more research with it than anybody else I've seen. And I reached out to him on Instagram. I was like, where is the best like 3-to-1 ratio, 3 inches long, 1 inch wide, like a true 3-to-1 with a bleeder? He's like, it doesn't exist. I was like, okay. Um, he elaborated. He's like, you don't need it. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But then, so then after that, it was like, okay, well, all of these are nice, and there's a lot of good reviews, but it's like, what material am I really wanting? Because like some of these, like the material is fine. It says it's stainless steel. Do I want stainless steel, or it's like A5 tool steel? I don't know. So it's something I mean, I felt like I did a decent amount of research before I was about to pull the trigger on a new set of broadheads this year, but I just didn't. And now it's like, okay, I have so much more to consider than I thought, and maybe I think too much into it, but it's like I put a lot of stock into my broadhead as much as the arrow and the arrow weight. Like I put a lot of stock into um, what the actual broadhead is that I'm using. So so I guess that kind of leads into what we were all three going to talk about. It was like more of a gear talk, the stuff we use, archery specific. So I feel like I've rambled enough already to start. So I'll let you guys kind of say what's up, and we'll kind of get into some gear talk. Whoever wants to go first, take over.
Go ahead, Brooks.
All right. Well, I mean, what should we start off with? I mean, I got my bow, I got my binos, I got my rangefinder, harness.
Let's start with
Uh,
the big stuff. We'll go with the bow.
the
What bow is
bow,
Yeah.
everyone shooting?
the bow. Might have to scoot back a little bit. This one is I got a Bear Paradigm. It is
Nice.
a middle of the road bow, um, which is fine for me for now. I will get a flagship at some point. Don't know when. I got to kill something with this thing first. But so I run Usually I run a sidebar, but I'm just shooting my basement right now with no quiver, so I'm not running a sidebar at the moment. So I do have just a 10-inch stabilizer from Trophy Ridge. I got the stand from, I got it from Cabela's. I can't remember what it's called. True Glow?
True Glow.
True glow.
True Glow.
Yeah.
That's how you say
Yeah.
it, sorry. Hamski Rest. Love the Hamskis, Colorado based, which is awesome. Sight. This is now will be the old sight. I just ordered a brand new 3-pin slider. Fired up for that from Trophy Ridge. It's the React model. Then I just have a Amazon little handheld thumb release. So
Hey, have you shot that thumb release much?
this,
Yeah.
yeah, I have. I switched to it back in July because I was like, I like the trigger, the index finger release, but I always thought the thumb release would be better. And I started shooting it, and my anchor points got just that much better, and I was able
Yeah.
to hold more consistently for longer periods of time. It felt like it just felt more comfortable in the hand. I actually felt like I was pulling back on something. The index finger release, you're kind of like you're pulling back, obviously, but I don't know, just this one just
It's
feels
not. It
better in
doesn't
my
feel
hand.
Yeah, it's not natural.
Not natural, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I've been thinking for a very long time about switching to thumb release, and I mean, I guess Justin and I always talk like it's all personal preference when it comes to archery. Like,
mhm.
what's comfortable for you? Like, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks, but I think I want to try a thumb release, at least shoot it and see how much more comfortable it is.
Mhm.
Because I feel like you said, it's probably a little bit more consistent than uh, wrist release. But
Yep.
anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Um, I mean, that's my bow. Uh, Eventually, I would, like I said, like to get a flagship of some sort. I'll have to shoot them all to figure that out. But Tanner, go over
Yeah.
your bow setup.
All right. It's hanging on the wall over there, but I've got a very base model, cheapy Bear Cruiser G2. It was the ready to hunt package when I bought it.
Heck
The
yeah.
only thing that I've changed on it is I put a drop away rest on it. It was actually an older one that my stepdad had, and he was just like, I don't have any use for it, so he gave it to me. I put it on, much better than the Whisker Biscuit, way more consistent. My sight is an HHA Optimizer Lite single pin. I believe the pin diameter is 0.019, and it's the slider. So I like it more, and some people can say, well, what happens kind of in the situation that I was in where you are kind of screwed if like they're moving quick and you can't really make your adjustment.
Mhm.
But like I just said, it's personal preference to me. Like I feel much more comfortable shooting a single pin over a stack pin like this. And I'm also left eye dominant, and like my vision is terrible. So it's very difficult. Like when I shoot, I have to close my left eye because of the astigmatism I have. So it's much more comfortable for me shooting a single pin. Like I feel like I just am much more accurate, and I just really couldn't get the hang of stacked 3 or 4 pin sight. So um, yeah, I have a very basic True Glow wrist release. I believe it's True Glow. I don't know. It's right here. Um,
True Fire.
yeah, that's the one. But I just bought this. You can get these at Cabela's or Bass Pro. I mean, whatever. I just set the length on it, and then the trigger is a little. It's not super sensitive. I think Justin and I talked about this when we were sighting in our broadheads. um, where like some people run it really, really sensitive. I don't, because I like to kind of have a little bit of give. So
Mhm.
like when you're squeezing the trigger on a firearm, you're kind of getting a little bit into it and then it gives. So like some people where it's like if you're a true trigger puncher, or like you just want it to go. It's like this movement right here, like it's gone. So kind of played around with that in some of the 3D shoots that we did this summer. But I kind of found a spot where I like it. My tension's good to where it's not going to give right away. So it kind of prevents me from trigger punching and like getting super target happy when I shoot. So, but yeah, other than that, we'll go ahead, Justin, go ahead with your bow.
Yeah, so I shoot the Matthews VXR 28 or 29, whatever. It's the shorter of the two.
Big time
Um,
guy.
yeah, so big time. Well, at the time it was the flagship. Well, it was right before I forget what the next one was. It was like
With the V3X.
V3, yeah, V3, V3X, whichever one came after VXR.
Yeah.
Like it came out like 2 months after I bought it, so it was like the end, like the year before's flagship, basically, because I bought it like 2020, 2021, whatever it was. Anyways, that's the bow. My rest is the QAD drop away integrate. Um, Matthews and Hoyt both have the integrated drop away rest system, so it's a little bit more tight fitting to the bow. Really enjoy that. I mean I haven't had any issues with it. Um, Works really well. I run a front bar. I think it's a 12 on the front and then a 10 on the back. I think last time Brooks and I talked on the podcast that didn't make it. I think it was 10 and 8 is what I said. I think I run a 12 and 10. 12 on the front, 10 on the back,
Mhm.
with a back bar, side bar, whatever, adjustable. And then just like Tanner, I run that the TrueFire index release. Very similar to him with the tension, the amount of tension it takes to get that trigger to go. I have two releases, like the same exact model and everything, and then I have them set up just like a smidge different. Um, this is something I saw, I don't know who first brought it up on YouTube or whatever that I had seen, but they're like, don't make them the exact same. Like make your make your two sensitivities just slightly different. I mean, you're not going to get it perfect anyways, but like having them slightly different is going to help with your like shooting mechanics, right? And so it's like to avoid that trigger punch and your body and mind gets trained to how the timing of how your pull through goes and you can anticipate the shot. And when you're anticipating the shot, I mean, it's just like um shooting a firearm where you anticipate that kick and you're like brace for the kick and you pull up, push down, whatever it is. So in my practice shooting, it was always like just flip back and forth. Like I have my two uh releases just sitting right next to each other, and I just grab one. I don't have them labeled. I don't have anything, so it's just like it's going to be a surprise the first time I shoot it, and then the rest of the session it's like okay, by the end of the session I'm probably anticipating the shot a little bit, but then when I go hunting I have both in either my backpack or my pouch or like sitting on the backseat of the truck when I load it in, so it's like I don't know which one I'm shooting that day, so there's no anticipation of this is going to be a shorter fire or this one's going to be a longer fire. They're slightly different. They're not that big of a difference, but talking about shot anticipation and making that little adjustment, I had got them. It was like 50% off, so it was basically 2 for 1, and it was like, why not do it? I mean, they weren't expensive anyway, so 2 for 1, and they're a reliable release. I was like, I feel like that's a good way for me to keep my practice true and have my shooting overall be better, no matter which one of the two releases I'm using. But like Brooks said, trying to explore more release options is something I've looked into. I did try a thumb release once, but it just felt so uncomfortable to me having my hand that way. I felt like my oh whatever that whenever I get to oh, thumbs down. Did
The
you
anchor
see that?
point.
Yeah, when I get to my anchor point,
Mhm.
I put my thumb like on my jawbone, basically, and so like I know where I'm at there. I know when if I use a thumb release, I can find a different anchor point, but like I'm just so used to being able to feel that, where it's like I don't know. I couldn't find it the like month I shot that thumb release. I just couldn't find a comfortable spot. and then it just was all haywire from there. So the index having a good anchor point that I already know, it's like it's hard for me to want to get away from that.
You also have a kisser button, don't you?
Nose button.
Nose button, that's right. Yeah.
The Bomar nose button, which I love that. Brooks, I told you about that one,
Yeah, you sent
right?
me the link for that. I gotta get that still.
I that's another thing I think has been huge for my consistency, because I mean it's an anchor point with my thumb, it's an anchor point on the string because that thing is tied down. It does not move at all. So it's like as soon as my nose hits that nose button, I
Mhm.
know that I'm in the same spot. And I mean my head can be tilted just a little bit, but like I have it where I know if my very tip of my nose where it hits, that's on it, and if my sight picture isn't right, I know my head is tilted. And so I can kind of pivot around my nose to be like, okay, I'm tilted like this. I need to be more like upright,
Mhm.
and I get my sight picture better. And that's where I know I'm okay, that's where I'm at when I sight in, and I'm ready to go from there. And then opposite of Tanner, I mean, he has his glasses and astigmatism. I don't have any true like vision problems or whatever. I don't wear contacts or glasses, and so I'm pretty lucky there, but I shoot both eyes open. And so like my full sight picture is like as big as it can get, and I have like the full view there. And I adjusted to that. Oh, I started toying with it last year, but then when I was like actually hunting, I was like, I'm not so sure about it. And then this year I did 3D almost exclusively both eyes open, and it was like, okay, I can do this. Like it's not. I was nervous about doing it with an animal, but then you know the doe I shot was both eyes open. It's like, okay, I'm comfortable enough. I'm actually a better shot with both eyes open now than I am with just like the one eye.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that covers it on the bows. Brooks and Tanner both have the Bear brand,
Mhm.
and you've both kind of said the same thing, and I don't think you both realize it, but conversations with one and conversations with the other, it's funny they've both been the same thing. Brooks mentioned it. You want to shoot something before you
Yeah.
level up. Tanner was
Yeah.
in the same boat. So
Yeah, I've
um,
been wanting a new bow for probably like since 2 months after I bought that bow. Like I literally like I didn't feel like I was doing justice not like actually killing something with it, but now that I have, I mean, next summer, see ya.
Gonna
yeah.
set you back right over here. You're gonna stay there for a while.
Yeah, go ahead and collect dust, and I'll sell it on Facebook one day.
Yeah. I just think it's funny, that's like the moral like obligation we feel to get that bow something before we move on. It's like,
Mhm.
you helped me and you did so much for me. You were the first one.
Yeah,
It's like the first girlfriend you had, your first
Yeah.
kiss, and it's like, you were so special to me in my life, and it's so hard to get rid of you, but you're gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
a lot of
But
people jump in right away and just go as high as you can. They're like, if I'm
Mhm.
gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna buy. Some of these bows these days are pushing $2,000. I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't have the interest or even knowledge to make that kind of a purchase right away. And like, I probably could have gone a little bit higher than what I did, but it also gives me a better appreciation for what is out there and how much better bows actually are than what I have in terms of speed and sound. My
Mhm.
bow's it's not quiet. That's a fact.
Yeah, mine's not quite.
And yeah, and like I've shot with Justin a lot, and I've had some people let me shoot their bows that are much nicer, and it's like, did I did I shoot it? Like it's amazing how much of a difference it is because mine it's like bonk bonk bonk. Yeah, it's not pleasant.
It was funny when I got my bow back in June or whatever. I went up to No Limits to get it all set up and everything, and one of the guys I didn't know at the time, but his name is Austin. He competed at Western Hunt Fest. He was working at No Limits only on like Saturdays at the time, and I had no idea he was even working there. I show up, and he's like, "Oh, what's up, man?" I was like, "Oh, what's up, man? How's it going?" Blah blah blah. And he was telling me like I was set because he has the Hoyt RX8 carbon and everything, and like he's a true bow hunter. Like he's a dude. And I was like, yeah, I just felt like getting like the mid range bow was probably like just a better option at the moment. I don't have $1,400 to spend on a Hoyt or a Matthews. And he was telling me, he goes, I see a lot of guys come in here and they just get like the best thing right away, but they don't realize like if you just start mid range, you will appreciate the flagship so much more once you get it, just because of how it shoots, what the features are. And he goes, in my opinion, everyone should start with a mid range type of bow and then work their way. And so that always kind of stuck with me. I was like, okay, I need to keep this bow and actually like shoot something with it.
Yeah, and do a bunch of shoots too. Like that was one of the more fun things this summer, and even when we still lived in Kansas, when we were shooting out at that freaking place way out by the airport. We like just being able to shoot it and dial it in what you have and be able to like actually get a feel for what you have. And it's like I don't need to have something extremely top of the line to get the job done, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the bow doesn't make you, like your shot makes you. Like you gotta be good at shooting.
Yeah. Well, I
Like
mean,
sure, the bow helps,
yeah.
but
It's not like those new setups with rifles where you put on that scope with the GPS inclusion where you range it with the GPS or with your rangefinder, and then all of a sudden your scope, which is not even wired connected, they're Bluetooth connected. You range it with your rangefinder, and then all of a sudden in your scope, it knows exactly how far, where to aim, how to adjust for the wind, everything. And it's like all you have to do is pull the trigger, and
yep.
just know how to properly squeeze the trigger off and not punch that trigger. And like as long as you don't screw up that part, you have a dead animal. Archery,
Yeah.
like there is no automatic
There's
part
not a
of it.
whole lot of room for error.
Yeah.
Nope.
Between the cheapest bow and the most expensive bow, they all have that in common where it relies on the hunter. Like you still have to pull it back. You still have to hold it true. You still have to know your distance, everything, all the different factors. It still relies on you. It's not up to a computer. Now there are some part like Garmin and that Trio and other things that are coming out with a little bit more technology where, the integrated rangefinders and things like that. Yeah, that's great it helps you know the range, but like you still have a whole lot of other factors that you as the hunter have to be in control of, whereas other means it's not quite that dependent on the hunter.
Right.
Yeah. And it's
So
like we've seen, Justin and I have seen at a lot of shoots guys that have these crazy like $3,000 setups and they're just trash at shooting, like complete trash. And it's like, but I still got a $2,000 bow though,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
It's funny, we actually got complimented. It was one or two different times we've been complimented, but I remember one like specifically. It was like middle of the summer. It was just like a hot day, and we are just like out there sitting it through because there were so many people out. It was a nice day, but it was hot, and it was just like, this is miserable. This guy comes up and he goes, "Man, you guys are like really good." And like he's got this he's got this nice, like really nice bow, and he goes
Like
like,
competition bow.
yeah, and he like, "You guys are really good. Like you guys are showing us up." And it's like, whoa, like Tanner and
Yeah,
I were in like the for fun shoot, and I'm not
yeah.
saying we should go pro in the world of 3D archery, but like we're like, screw it. Like it has. Have you ever been? You've seen them like the 3D shoots where it's like you have your lady. It's kind of like golf where you have your ladies mark and your
Youth,
like your youth mark and
the old guy
like
mark.
stick bow and long bow, like all your different marks. And we're like, screw it. Let's just go to the farthest one. We'll use our rangefinders. We don't like because there's people the part of it where you can do it without not known distance, and so. We go back to the far one, we range it, and we're just like, let's go for it. Just fire this one. They're like,
Mhm.
what are you guys doing? Well, we're just hunters that
Shooting?
like to shoot.
We're
And
just we're
yeah.
flinging them as far as we can, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have like I'm sure we didn't submit our scores, but like we probably didn't have the best scores of the weekend, but we were putting up good scores. We didn't miss very often, and it was just like we're making really good shots, and it was good practice for us. But it was like this guy comes up with like this nice setup, and he's like,
Yeah.
"You guys are freaking killing it!" Like I've been, he's like right before or right after us, whatever. There's just so much downtime between targets, and he's like, I've been watching you guys. You guys are nailing it. It's like, huh,
Thanks,
thanks.
dude. But
Thanks.
this takes me back to the competitive shoot we did in Garden. It was
Oh
the
yeah.
first 3D shoot I did, and it was like maybe the second or third one that you had done. And there were maybe 30 people that did it, and these people are just like walking around like this one guy, he's just like decked out, and of course I'm wearing the Kuyu hoodie, but he's wearing like full Kuyu stuff, like expensive camo, and he's got like a $1,200 bow and setup. And like I had just bought this bow like 2 weeks before, like have like the basics on it, like I don't even have a quiver on it. And Justin ends up getting like first in compound, and then I was like third in total points. And they were like, people were like, oh, like how many shoots have you done? Justin's like, well, it's like my maybe like second or third, and I was like, this is like the first day I've shot archery. Like I had a foam target or 3D target, and they were like, what? And we were like, yeah, I mean, we're just also part of being athletes and like having that coordination. I think it has a lot to do with it, and like just being pretty in tune with your body. But yeah, we were like, oh, I guess we are pretty good. Now, granted, we're not nailing like 110-yard shots like some of these dudes
right.
are, but I also don't have a setup for that.
I think as like baseball guys in general, it's like baseball's such a mental game, and like so is archery. So it's kind of like you have like we kind of have that experience already of like trying to just we have to mentally just be in that right spot wherever it may be, and we're used to kind of that just we got to be precise type of thing, whether you're a pitcher or a hitter.
Yeah, but like consistently doing the same thing
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over and over and over again to be successful. It's like it's ingrained into our bodies and brains to
Yep.
just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thinking about like target panic, it got brought up earlier. I don't see it as impactful to us, or as easily impactful to us. It would take a lot, I think, for it to seep into our brains and really get us to have like true target panic. Because like you hear stories of you know people in the archery world that like they cannot get on just a normal like circle target. You got
Yeah.
your outside all the way into the 10 or whatever. Like there's people that can't even get it into like the 7 ring. Like they just cannot mentally control that bow to get into the center of the target and hold it there long enough to let off a good shot. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like for us, we're always told as baseball players, slow the game down. Like control the controllables. Like the game is going fast. Like you're going faster than the game. You need to slow yourself down. And it's just like the game, like it's not going that fast. And really, there's in the hunting world, there is a unknown, not visible clock of like that deer is gonna bust or it's gonna move. You do have a short time frame where you have to
Mm-hmm.
make it happen, but in the long scheme of things, that could be 10 seconds. But I feel like for us, whenever we describe it, it's like, it felt like I had 10 minutes to get this shot off on this deer. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny. Like, I, I guess, beauty of being able or being in this part where I'm now recording my hunts, that shot I made on that doe, in my brain, it felt like I held on that doe for 2 minutes before, or like I was at full draw for like 2 minutes before I actually let go of that arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the real world clock was like 20, 30 seconds from
Yeah.
when I
You
first actually got it drawn to when I let it go. Like, and when I thought I was held on her vitals, for like 5 to 10 seconds, but from the time the camera got on her to when I let it go, it was like 3 seconds. I was like, holy crap, I did not hold on her very long. Like I
Yeah,
rushed the shot, but if like it all in my brain, it felt good. Like it felt like I was on it, and then I slowed it down even more. She ducked it a little bit. I mean, all whitetail are gonna duck it, you know,
yeah,
so um she ducked it a little bit, which made it a slightly higher shot. I think even if she hadn't ducked it as little as she did, it would have been higher than I would have wanted. But it was just like, man, it seemed so slow to me. And I got there and everything was fine in my brain. But then like looking back on with a video, it was like that was like a 20-second encounter. And to me it
yeah,
felt like like 2+ minutes. And it was like,
yeah,
dang, that's crazy. And so like going back to it, it's like I feel like us as baseball players, former athletes, it's like the world feels slower to us
yeah.
because we know how to control that.
Yeah, there's one man to thank for that for the most part. and
Especially you too.
and he may be watching these, he may not. He knows who he is. Um, no, but like you and I even talked about this. We talked about this on like the day that we shot our deer. It's like I had said something. I'm like, I felt like I watched this deer for like the whole thing was 5 minutes long, and I'll guarantee you it was less than 60 seconds in
Yeah,
total time. Like it's so crazy how it works
right.
out.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm not trying to say that we're going to be the greatest hunters or we are the
yeah,
greatest hunters, but I feel like when you listen to people tell their stories, the people that are like, "Oh my God, that happened so fast!" Like, I can't believe it. It's like those guys, they get, their I don't want to call it lucky, but they get their 1 in a million, and it's like that's it. They don't have very much success in the hunting world, but the guys that you watch on YouTube, TV, whatever, and they talk about it all the time, where it's like, man, like it just like it felt like forever for this doe to get in there or this buck to get in there, and like I held on it for 5 minutes. It felt like, and it's like those people. I feel like you hear them be more successful more often.
yeah. This is I've got a lot of thoughts running through my head right now, but the Buck Commander guys, all ex MLB players except for Willie Robertson. And like well, and I guess Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean. But like those guys, if you watch, they I don't think I've ever seen one of them have a bad shot. Like
Yeah.
these guys kill monster deer in eastern Kansas and like southeastern United States, and they don't have bad shots ever.
Yeah.
And something to be said, I guess.
Right. I mean, the musicians like Luke Bryan, those guys, like they're elite performer. They're elite in their
Hmm.
world, and like they know how to slow down their environment.
Yeah,
Yep.
Like you have tens of thousands of people in a stadium cheering, wanting to hear you be at your best in that moment. And it's like, okay, like that can be really difficult. Now you're alone in the woods with you, a deer, and a camera. Like, how slow can that feel? Like, how
yeah,
low pressure can that feel? Like, you talk about low heart rate. It's like, okay, it's exciting. We've all seen the, is he down? Is he
yeah.
down?
The best.
But like, you know his heart rate was steady all the way up until that arrow hit him, and then it hit him like, oh man, the adrenaline. But like,
Can I smoke him? Classic. All
yeah,
right, let's get back to gear, Justin. Let's go run us through your saddle setup.
saddles. Yep. So tethered, pretty much everything I have when it comes to the saddle setup is tethered. A lot of people just kind of hodgepodge it together, and I just kind of found one brand and stuck to it. I feel like they're the bigger name and more popular, more reliable name. I'm running the Phantom, I believe, and so I think it's like just the normal one, not the XL. Phantom saddle itself, and then I've got two pouches on the side um, for each of my ropes and a couple of other accessories, things like that. Um, I kind of spoiled myself. I went out and got the like backstrap recliner. I think they call it the recliner. I don't know
The
if they still make
MVP.
it. Yeah. Well, they
I
they
I think
changed the name to the MVP. It used
okay.
to be the recliner, so I think they're the same thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, before they changed the name or whatever. But it is very nice to have like a little low back support or raise it
Yeah.
up. It's like lean back into it a little bit. Kind of spoiled myself there. But that's it really on like the saddle itself. I have the hip strap that goes around the tree and then all the different loops. I hook my backpack to that, and then there's like a carabiner with like a bow hook on it that I hook to the his strap. And so it keeps it all like pretty tight to the tree. Um, and then I think that's it for that. My platform is the Predator, just the standard Predator. And they've come out with the XL, and now they've got a carbon Predator. This is like the Predator original, whatever. That's the one I use. And then for my climbing sticks, also tethered the Skeletors. Really they're not their lightest one, I don't think, but they're taller than the one sticks, I believe. And so a little bit gets you a little bit higher up into the tree. They are all like aluminum metal material, so it's like they can be a little bit loud. So all I did was put some stealth strip tape on it, and it quieted them down like immensely. But yeah, they come in packs of four, and so I use all four typically. And um, yeah, that's my saddle setup. I will say I wanted to mention I use the thicker ropes, the lineman and the tether. I forget yours is Tanner. I know yours is the thinner
I think
one.
they're 10 millimeter are mine.
Yeah, mine are the thicker ones, and like I think they're just like a little bit. I mean, they make it a little bit heavier. Obviously, more material equals more weight, but it's like those smaller ropes are like just as good. I don't see like you're supposed to update your ropes every like couple of seasons, 3, 4 seasons, whatever. Once you get a little bit
Yeah.
of fray, you want to replace them. So I think when I'm due for them, I'm definitely gonna go for those smaller ones just to
Yeah.
make it less bulky in those pouches and a little bit less weight. Because
Yeah.
I was a little out of shape going into. I thought I was in pretty decent shape going into this hunting season because of working all summer. And, I'm always outside on my feet. But like my first like 5 hikes in, my hips were killing me from from just carrying
Yeah.
that belt on my waist. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I am fat and out of shape. Even though I'm not that fat and out of shape, I was like, oh my God, this is awful. This is
Yeah.
awful. I need to be
Yeah.
better. But
These
just
I
a
will
little
say
bit of weight, it always matters.
I will say these smaller ropes, I didn't realize how big your ropes were until
Yeah.
like you actually like because we used our ropes to we hooked it up to the back legs to drag our deer out. And I
Mhm.
was looking, I was like, what the fuck is this? Justin's rope is like 3 times as thick as mine, but it's older, and I don't even know if they had these smaller
They
ones
didn't.
out. Yeah,
They came out with
so
it like a couple months after.
yeah, so because I got all my stuff last year in like November, I believe
Yeah.
it was, and I was like, whoa, you're out of date there, pal. No, um, but I will say, so I bought a climber last year, and because like I started off in a ground blind because I'd never hunted stuff like this before, and especially with a bow. And then I bought a climber because I was like, well, I want to be in a tree. And then he was like, why don't you try a saddle? I was, what the hell is a saddle? Like I don't even know what that is. And he just showed me and explained it to me, and I was like, well, that might be all right. So I think I put my climber in the tree twice. I think I had 2 sits in my climber and I got a saddle. And I was like, dude, it's like people make fun of saddle hunters and whatever because they're like, oh, we just hunt out of a tree stand, we strap to a tree, whatever. But these like public land saddle hunting, I think, is the way to go because
Yeah.
like you can get set up and broken down extremely quick. Like if you want to move your setup, you can, and you don't need a perfectly straight tree with no limbs coming off of it with the saddle. Like if you have a limb coming out that's 10 to 15 feet up, like you can get around that with the saddle setup.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
That's huge.
yeah, it makes a huge difference for sure. But anyway,
Your
Sorry,
saddle,
tangent.
your saddle that you use, a little bit different, newer.
I I have I think it's the Phantom, the newer Phantom. Um, I have it's the First Light camo. Um, I don't know. I really don't know a ton about it. I just saw it, bought it. It's kind of how my brain works. It's like this one works, whatever. I've got two dump pouches on it. Um, like we were just talking, I have the smaller diameter ropes. So I believe they're 10 millimeter ropes. And then I have the assist strap that Justin was talking about that wraps around the tree for gear. And then I put my pack with carabiner just on the right side of it, and then I have a real tree, I think, bow hanger where it just kind of it folds into two and then folds out, and it swivels a little bit, and then it has a screw end on it, so I just screw it into the tree, and it's pretty easy. Sticks, I have XOP, not really sure which ones. XOP is the brand of sticks. I have four of them. They're pretty bulky, pretty noisy, and they about sliced my finger off a couple weekends ago. But they've got the job done for me. They're definitely not as I light as Justin's Skeletors, and they're not as tall either. That's for sure. So I do have to space them out a little bit more if I want to. The biggest upgrade for me this year on my setup was those XOP sticks came with the straps. So, like most platforms have, it's the strap with the buckle on it like this. I took the strap out for other uses, but basically run it around the tree and cinch it tight, and that's the way it works. But if you can hear just by me taking it off, metal on metal is not quiet whatsoever, and it's extra weight. Plus, they're I mean maybe I just don't know how to use them very well, but I thought that they were like extremely difficult to get up and around on the tree and like get it exactly where you want it in terms of tightness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought the daisy chain, four daisy chains from Tethered this year and use those on my sticks. I bought that after I think week two this year because I was tired of the straps, and those they made a huge difference. So I believe those links on those ropes are 2.25 inches wide, and they're spread out. I believe they're 8 feet long. Um, so the first I think foot, actually it's the first like 6 inches. There are no links, but the rest of the entire way down it has links on it, so you can put it around a tree as big as you want. Much faster, much quieter, and like there's so much more versatile. So I've actually seen people use those on their platforms, which I now am definitely going to buy a fifth one for my platform. Justin and I talked about this a little bit, but it's much quieter, and I think it'll be much quicker. Just that extra, you know, maybe minute that you're going to lose setting it up in terms of your platform. And if you need to adjust it pretty quick, you plop down on your last stick and readjust your platform. So, but and then my platform is the Predator XL, which game changer having the XL is a little bit bigger, more feet room. I don't have ginormous feet, but I'd have bigger than average size feet, I'd say, and
Mm-hmm.
it definitely makes a difference having that little extra room on that platform. So
Yeah.
just a little bit more comfort. And when you're doing an all day swing or hang from these trees, it definitely helps. So I have a MVP as well. Justin was talking about that recliner that goes around your lower back. I don't use it all the time because it's the newer one that I have. It's just a lot of straps and like just crap I think in the way. So like I don't like messing with it sometimes. If I'm doing an all day sit, I will break it out. But other than that, pretty simple, straightforward. on the saddle. Haven't used it a ton, and I think like I'm finally at the point where I'm set up where I want to be, other than my strap for my platform.
Yep.
So
With that recliner question, have you tried getting drawn while you have your MVP on? Like drawing back while
no,
you have that?
no,
It's different.
I haven't used it at all this year. I haven't
Yeah.
put it on once this year. I did last year, and I just got to a point where I was tired of messing with it.
It's very different. It only like I don't know. I only want to put it on when I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to see a deer within the next like 30 minutes to an hour, but
Mhm.
in case I do whatever, but like I'm not going to get down, but I'm also wanting to put a little relief on my back, so I'll put that on and it's like I really hope a deer doesn't come out because it's just like that strap comes up at just a steep like a less steep angle and so it kind of gets in the way of where your bow can kind of free range move. Like I I was about to draw back on a buck on Tuesday when I went this week, like a smaller buck, and it was just like tight quarters. I didn't have that strap on, but like it was like tight quarters and moving and like turning around trying to get in a good position. If I would have had that strap on, like it would not have gone as smoothly as it did. Like I would have
Yeah,
been bumping things and I would have spooked that buck out of there. But so I don't know. That's something like I want to try it and find a better way to have that one on in case something like that happens. Or it's like I really want to have that thing on right now and have an animal come in be able to draw more comfortably. But yeah, 99% of the time I don't have that thing on. But
yeah.
it is nice when you're having that long sit. So
The one thing
yeah.
about saddles, um, like I don't know if they're more common. I mean, I'm sure they are in the whitetail woods because if you're mule deer hunting, you're probably not going to be using a saddle. But like there are whitetail, I think, in almost every single state in the U.S.
Mhm.
like documented at least somewhere. And, like I'd be curious to see if it's much more like if people out west actually use them, like Midwest and like Utah, Idaho, Montana, or if like people are just straight up like just ground pound out there.
I
I'm
have
ground
So
pound
seen,
so far.
yeah, I have seen, and this brings me to a question for Brooks. I have seen some videos of people using saddles in the elk woods where they are set up over um, like a water hole or a wallow, whatever, where they're getting down into it, or they just a heavy trail where people know that they're coming in.
Hmm.
Does this sell you on the saddle setups, and would you ever want to try it in the Elkwoods?
That's a good question because, like, I see the benefit of it, and my buddy he did run a tree stand last year, um, and for first week, and but he didn't get anything. He thought he was in a good spot, but he barely saw anything. But that's also the thing with elk hunting is like if they're not there, you might as well start just move. So
Hmm.
I
yeah,
I feel like if it's a thing, it's like you gotta know they're there, or it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I
So
would agree. That
just
makes
because
sense.
we have so much land to roam around here, especially like OTC public, like I mean, because you could be up in a saddle, next thing you know, you see freaking two hunters walk right below you, and you're like, great, like
Yeah,
sick,
for
kind of
sure.
kind of thing. So I would. I'm not against trying it. I would probably try it if I know for a fact that elk are going to be there.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, you got all the saddle talk. You guys, I'm like, that's over my head right now because
Yeah,
I've never considered it. So at least for now, I'll just be freaking get my shit stomped, running up and
ground
down
and
mountains.
pound.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's a pretty big investment too, though. Like
Hmm.
yeah.
saddles they are not cheap. Like when it comes to the actual saddle, sticks, and a platform, like just those three things,
Hmm.
not cheap at all.
What does
And
it
it's
cost you, like average?
I mean, I think my setup with because my sticks were the cheaper style sticks, and even with having those, I think it was still around like 800.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah, for a full setup with all the accessories and stuff like that, like
Mhm.
they don't, well, they do make like I think yours came with the pouches, but it was a little bit higher price overall.
I
Mine
think the
didn't come,
saddle itself was 350.
yeah, like my saddle didn't come with pouches. You have to buy the pouches. I mean, they have different options, like a smaller pouch, a bigger pouch, what have you, but like just the saddle and everything, like each part of it all added together, like you're almost always going to spend $800 on a brand new setup of for everything included.
Yeah, which
So,
is like it's just how they get you with how businesses work these days. It's like, oh, we have this, like this is something you're gonna need, so why don't we just make it a separate cost and make people pay more money? That's you. That's how
Mhm.
everybody works. Like it's not just Tethered. It's Latitude does it. There's another, I can't remember what the company's called, but they have saddles, and it's like you're paying your base for your saddle, and like it'll have a kit with it, but it's like your saddle and your dump pouches, and then you got to buy your ropes with it, and then it's like, oh, do you want an extra carabiner? Because they have these the bigger carabiners. It comes with one, but it's like you most likely are going to need two, so you
Mhm.
should probably buy a second one. And then it's like, here's the sticks, but do you want the straps with them, or do you want to get the string or the ropes with them? And it's
Mhm.
like, well, now you're going to pay extra for that, and it's just it's definitely an investment. I think it's a good investment, especially for if you're going to be knocking down some ground in public on public. But I
Mhm.
mean, for like your situation, like I've elk hunted a lot growing up, and it's like you're very like if they're not there, just move. And you also don't
yeah.
want to be carrying around an extra, you know, 6 pounds around your waist when it's like
Mhm.
you're putting in a good season, which it's like a Wednesday to Sunday, like you're probably going to put close to 30 miles in if like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
really hitting it hard.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not easy miles. You're going
Mhm.
up, down, and like you're at altitude because you're in Colorado. Like you just don't want that extra weight. Like unless you know like there are going to be elk here at this time every single day, it's not worth it, in
Yep.
my opinion.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, when I go out with you guys in Tennessee, absolutely. Like, let's
Yeah,
Oh
fucking
yeah.
buddy.
saddle it up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Hell yeah. We'll
that's
get you
one thing
saddled up.
that Justin and
Hmm.
I have talked about too is like we've been talking about filming hunts for over a year now, and uh like duck hunting, I think we both have a GoPro. I really don't know how to work mine. I use it for like work videos more than anything.
Hmm.
But like when it comes to hunting, we want to try to like maybe double up in a tree. Like one of us climbs up 5 to 7 feet higher than the other and films the whole thing,
Hmm.
or um, something like that, to where we can have content not just for like YouTube and for like people to see, but also for us to like look back on and be like, oh, that's pretty cool that we got to document that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because
Um,
I think, Justin, you and I kind of talked about that, just documenting videos and be able to, like, show, like, our future kids and everything like that, too, and just be like, hey,
yeah.
this is how this hunt went and kind of thing. And it's cool that we have the technology these days to do this because I mean, I didn't grow up in a hunting family, but I know like guys who are older who are in their 50s, 60s probably wish they could have videoed their hunts back in the day.
mhm.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it's something that sharing with the family and being able to like send clips, even if it's not like one that I've totally published yet or whatever, sending clips to
Mhm.
like my dad and being like, oh, I had when I first I was still considering whether or not to make a video out of it and like make my first video, like my very first video that came out with like the $3 that busted on me. It was like I took
Mhm.
that video and it was like, well, I'm gonna send it to my dad either way because it's like, oh, look at this. I had deer come in. Like, then I sent
Mhm.
it to him and I was like, this happened. What should I do? Like, should I sit? Should I stay? He's like, oh yeah, stay, whatever. But like, it was even just that. If I wasn't gonna post it to YouTube, to actually have it on film, one, it's sharing the experience with him, like good, bad, indifferent, but then also it's like just like really cool if something cool happens, to be able to share it with him, like with him or whoever, to be like that doe. If I wouldn't have posted it to YouTube, being able to like send it to him and being like,
Mhm.
we still get to share that experience together because we were a hunting or we are a hunting family, grew up hunting, and it's like we didn't always get to kill things together, but like now get to be able to be like, oh, I got this doe, and he can almost feel like he's there, whether or
Mm.
not he
Yeah,
sees it that way, but it feels like I'm sharing that first person encounter with someone. And so
yeah. And
it's
somebody who's
cool.
gonna like care about it too,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Yeah.
especially like your dad. It's like he gets to kind of experience it with you.
Yeah, so like it's cool to have the angle that I have right now. Like I don't mind having that. That's one thing I forgot to mention. I do have the painted arrow phone mount on the front on my front stabilizer.
Mhm.
So that's the angle that I'm using. It's just my phone with a magnet on my case, and then it's like to this magnet of the painted arrow mount. And so all of those angles are just from my iPhone. Now it's cool to have that like first person like shooter point of view, whatever, but like Tanner was saying, I think it'd be really cool to have additional angles. Like I want to eventually, get another camera. Like they've got like 360 cameras that are like GoPros, and you can fiddle with it, but like to have a wider angle and it looks at you and you can see the deer and things like that. That one would be cool. Or having
Mhm.
like just an actual camera like behind having like I'm filming Tanner, Tanner's filming me to be able to like film us doing what we're doing. That's just a whole nother angle where it's like you can feel like you're there with them as
Mhm.
opposed to like what I have right now. It's like you feel like like you put on the VR goggles and you're the one doing it. Whereas
Right.
like to be able to share that experience, it's like, oh, that with a different angle, it's like I get to watch Tanner's dad gets to watch Tanner as if he were right over his shoulder.
Mhm.
That's an
Yeah,
angle that I would love to get more of because it's like, you know, feel like you're hunting with a buddy or feel like you're hunting
yeah.
with your son or whatever.
That
That
third person experience.
yeah, seeing
Mhm.
it from behind the shoulder as opposed to
Yeah,
being like I
yeah.
am the action, like I get to watch the action. I like watching those a little bit better. Um, what I guess it's another thing that's personal preference, but I think that'd be cool to get that going.
Yeah.
Brooks, have you ever thought about like filming your hunts more? I know like at one point you've kind of thought about it, but like what's a tactic you would be looking at for filming your hunts?
Yeah, so I definitely I was trying to film as much as I could on the on the archery hunt we went on this year.
Hmm.
Um, it's definitely difficult when you're running around up and down mountains.
Yeah,
It's so I do have a GoPro. I would like to get an attachment for like a chest rig or something that would go on my like bino harness because like the bino harness I have is a Kafaru and it has the
yeah.
Molly. So I'd like to
Oh
get
yeah,
an attachment that goes there for my GoPro, just to have just an extra camera. And I use my phone. I mean, our iPhone cameras are ridiculous these days,
yeah,
and
Ridiculous.
insane. And um, so it's just like it's just trying to figure out like how can I do it that's efficient, but also it's not taken away of me potentially missing an elk.
yeah.
You know.
You don't want to miss an
So
opportunity because you were
mhm,
fiddling with a camera.
correct. Yeah. So
Right.
I think the GoPro setup on the chest is but at the same time, but like if once like you turn and shoot that, the GoPro's shooting out that way. So it's probably like what you have right now, the little thing that sets up on your stabilizer
Hmm.
would probably just put my phone there and have the GoPro on my chest. I don't know, or put the
Yeah.
GoPro on the stabilizer, or something.
Yeah.
Well,
The one I've seen the hunting public guys start to do is I
mhm,
don't know if it's like something that they have it like solidified into something or what, but I tried to do it with my own stick, like a little like a tripod that's just like really skinny, but it's like a
mhm.
stick that's in the backpack or like
Oh
attached to your
yeah.
back somehow, and it's like
Okay.
over the shoulder. And I believe if I were to, what was it, a couple weeks ago when I walked in and got busted before I even got into the tree, if I would have had that going and like when I was full draw, you can see what I see from over my left shoulder. So like you would be able to at least see a little bit, if not everything,
Mhm.
of what I'm seeing. Like, when you're like this, like that
Right.
camera where it was or where I would have it set up, you'd be able to at least see some, if not all, of my sight view. And so
Mm.
that over the shoulder, because like you were saying, yeah, if you have it on your chest, you can't see it. If it's on your hat, like, yeah, it's looking in the
Yeah.
same direction, but like is it gonna
Yeah.
weigh down your hat? And you're like, oh crap, I can't actually see through
Yeah.
my, I
Right.
can't see through my peep.
I did try to run the GoPro a little bit on my hat when we're just like walking and
Yeah,
trying to go up and down ridges. But yeah, it was just like I was like,
yeah,
I'm like, okay, this is very uncomfortable right now.
right.
But like all
Um,
things, like if you look at other like hunting content pages on YouTube or like even TV shows, and like there's an evolution to how things happen. And like I think the hunting public is a pretty good example of this. Like they're on a ginormous scale now, but like when they first started, these guys were filming GoPros and like just like Justin's doing, like taking videos on their iPhones of themselves, like talking, and then like, you know, like I didn't get it on camera because like I'm not gonna miss this deer. So like my camera's pointed way over there and the deer's over here, but like you guys still like got some of the experience, and it's like you get the raw reaction right away after they shoot the deer. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, bummer. You didn't get to see like what happened, and like I didn't get to see what happened after the fact, but also it's like that's how a lot of them start, and then they learn from there. It's like anything. You learn from it, and then it's like here's how I can be better in the future. And
Yep.
it's like each podcast that is done, it's like here's how we can be better in the future. Here's how like
Mhm.
this technology can be like we can use this one, you could use that one, yada yada.
Mhm.
So it's just still in like a learning experience right now, and I think it'll be once you figure it out, it'll be pretty quick, and
Yep.
it's gonna be a lot of cool stuff captured.
Oh,
yeah.
100%. And I
Um,
mean, I know there's a lot of like these big time YouTubers now. They just bring a camera guy along. They just
Yeah,
don't bother with
yeah,
it, which is definitely the easier way. And that way you like, yeah, you have to worry about what the camera guy's doing. Like I'm like, oh, did he just freaking bust this hunt? Like, great, thanks,
right.
type of thing. But at the same time, it's you. The camera guy could actually get the shot, and it would be like it's really good quality type of thing. But obviously, that costs money too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right. Um, I guess next phase of gear talk, I brought it up at the beginning, broadheads. That's one I really wanted to talk about. Broadheads are always a hot topic, but I just want
Mhm.
to see, Brooks, what are you using? Tanner, what are you using? I brought up what I'm using, but we'll go over it again. But Brooks, what broadhead are you using
I am
currently?
using the Muzzy 100 at the moment.
Yep.
Um, it was a broadhead that my future father-in-law had. He had a few of them, and he just like, yeah, here you go. I was like, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
So I just been running that. Nothing crazy. Have not gone down the rabbit hole of broadheads yet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
It's a
feel like
deep
coming
that
up.
one.
it is a deep one. I feel like the Muzzy three blade is like the staple of what people have seen in when they first start or whatever, when they've seen people do archery hunting. It's like you've seen or you've possibly probably used
Yep.
the Muzzy three blade
Yeah,
100 grain. Like
Mm.
my dad always used them. Like when he was first showing me all of his stuff, it's like he had just Muzzy, like the replacement blades scattered everywhere, and he's got like
Mm.
10 different Muzzy blades. Like they're affordable, they are pretty effective. Now obviously we've kind of done some more diving and like, well, there's things that are maybe more effective, but I mean they still kill. So it's like, well, what's there
yeah.
to knock on that? But
Yeah.
I feel like that's where a lot of people start. So what have I know you said you haven't done any of the deep dive, but are you eyeing any other brand or style of broadhead?
Nope. Not yet.
Not yet.
I
All
still
right.
got to go. I went down the rabbit hole of sights and peeps right now, and
Yep.
that's kind of what I was focusing on. And I mean, I don't have a season till Turkey in the spring, so I'll uh
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
get
and
down
that's a
that rabbit
whole
hole
other
here
world
soon
too.
enough.
So
I
Yeah.
know, like, well, I might be able to do an archery hunt later this year. It would be on my coworker's 1 acre lot. He gets a bunch of does,
Mhm.
and you can get it's technically a rifle tag, but I think I could still shoot with a bow.
Gotcha.
Because he backs up to like 80 acres, and
Okay.
he's a rifle guy, and he makes fun of me. He's like, oh, I can just walk out my back porch, shoot something, I'm good to go. I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, you just got it easy.
Yeah, which I mean, like, I can't knock rifle hunters because I rifle
No.
hunted, but like Justin and I talked about this. It's like you have to be up close and personal when
Hmm.
you're archery hunting, so it just adds like that much more difficulty. And like I think now that I've done it, it's so much more rewarding because it's like this deer. I was from me to like my garage door from
Yep.
this deer, and it's like that's freaking nuts.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Right.
and it's funny. Like, two of my coworkers, they both got an antelope within the first weekend of the season, and they're all like talking crap, and they're like, "Oh, well, see, look at us." I was like, "Look, you guys are rifle guys. I get it. Like,
Yeah.
just because I like to make it a little bit more difficult doesn't mean it's you guys are better than me. Like, golly,
Yeah. It's like
vice versa too.
I'm sure if I had a rifle I would be tagged out too, guys. So guess what?
Absolutely, yeah. I
Right.
think all of us would. Like,
It's funny. So the way I'm seeing it for Brooks is like he has he's in a sequence of dives. Like you know, he went off the initial 3 foot diving board. Like you go to the
Yeah.
public pool and it's got like all the different diving boards. It's like he
yep,
took the 3 foot like bouncy, okay, woohoo, jump in, big little splash
uh-huh.
for getting into bow hunting. And then it's like,
Yep,
oh, there's that one that's like 5 foot up, like just a platform. Okay, we'll jump off that. And like he's like slowly getting up to like the 30 foot one where it's
yeah,
like you like I've kind of got him trickled in on a little bit of the arrow weight stuff, and like he's heard me talk about broadheads some more now. Like he's getting
hmm.
up to that point where it's like it's about to be like full blown like skydive free fall into
Oh
into
yeah.
the archery world. It's like we've dove down this hole and that hole. It's like okay, now it's about to be like fully engulfed like
Hmm.
Yeah.
rabbit hole of everything.
Oh, I've even talked about just like getting my own uh, bow shop set up for myself and like actually learning how to tune my bow, work on my bow. And
Yep.
oh, dang it, my light went off. Did it just die? That's unfortunate. Um,
Oh
um,
Lord.
but yeah, I've thought about just freaking going head first and learning all of that. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
there's some really good bow shops around here. Um, but at the same time, it would be nice to like know how to work on my bow. Because if I'm in the backwoods, 100 miles away from a bow shop, and
Yeah.
something goes wrong with my bow, I would rather rely on myself than have to be like, crap, I have to kill this hunt.
Yeah.
I have to go back into town.
Yeah.
Then so that's a whole nother rabbit hole too. But
Right. For sure. For sure. Tanner, broadheads. What are you using?
All right, these are the OZ cut double bevel 125s. Elite
nice.
series, I think is what they are.
Hmm.
I don't know. I last year my field tips are 125s. Um, Last year I shot the Montec from G5, I think is what it is. The Montec, it's almost the same as those Muzzy blades. They're three blade, fixed blade. I was having issues with them being consistent last year. I think it had a lot to do with um, like my arrow setup, like the difference between field tips and being at 125s, which I'm dialed in at 125, and then I go back to 100 grain broadhead last year, and I was not very consistent target shooting, and it's probably I mean, looking back on it, maybe irresponsible, but almost maybe a good thing that I didn't have an opportunity at a deer because like there's no telling what could have happened. Because like Justin and I had talked about this, it's like some days it's like I'm shooting really well, and then some days it's like it's all over the place, and it's like I don't know what's going on. Like I can't tell you what the problem is. So I kind of dialed it in this fall. Spent a lot more time shooting this year than I did last year, and wanted to go with the 125. Did not want to spend a ton of money on broadheads this year. I think next year I might. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I'm going to go heavier or not next year. It also depends on my bow setup as well. So these are good little broadheads. I mean, out of the package, it was one of the biggest reviews these things got out of the package, not sharp. So I can definitely say that was true. They were not very sharp out of the package. So I spent a lot of time sharpening these and like making sure that, I'm freaking can shave my legs with these damn things before I'm walking into the woods. I was just very like worried about that this year, and Emily can attest to that. She's like, I told her after I was so worried about my broadheads being sharp and like everything being perfect, but it's just part of who I am. And I said it didn't matter. Like they were sharp. I knew they were sharp. I just had to trust myself and trust my gear. So it worked
Yeah.
out really well. And I mean, I've been kind of messing with it for the last 10 minutes or so, and it's for what it was. I mean, I buried it 4 inches into the dirt, and it's actually fairly sharp still. So
Nice.
I guess the integrity held up of them. They just don't really care to sharpen them out of the factory. So I mean, that's on them. But it worked for me. I killed a deer with them, so it worked. There's your
Yeah.
review, OZ cut.
You kind of said it, but are you looking to change next year, or are you like still up in the air? Broadheads.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, last year I was just gonna go straight into single bevel, the iron wills. I just didn't. I don't really know why. Well, I do know why. You know why? Because I'm a tight ass. Didn't want to spend money on it. Um, After this year, I read a couple reviews on these, them not like being sharp, which I figured out on my own. I sharpened it myself. Not that big of a deal. Like, people were saying that double bevel blades on like when their operation and when you're shooting a deer, that's like it feels like when it gets inside, it's not staying true, and it's got a little bit of deflection, and it's like I don't know, it hits a bone or something, and it's not working out.
Mhm.
One thing that I wanted to maybe bring up a little bit last week, but I didn't, and maybe it's because of how close I was, but my arrow flew extremely straight, and like replaying everything in my head, and like even like the angle it was at, like it was directly through this deer, and like when I was skinning her and processing her, the exit side, like I hit a rib and it didn't change anything. And
Right.
maybe it's the fact that um, she was so close, but it didn't really affect much arrow flight.
Right.
So um, I think maybe next year I'll probably will dive into uh, different broadhead and maybe a little bit heavier. But for right now, I have a good setup with my bow, and I'm shooting really well and really straight right now. And I don't really want to change a whole lot in the middle of the season because I'm still trying to make it happen with the buck. So
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. No, I like single bevel, double bevel, three blade, whatever. I think I've said it before. I think it boils back down more to arrow weight and FOC, forward of center mass percentage. That I think plays a bigger role than what type of broadhead you're actually using.
Mhm.
Every broadhead, and I've hopped on this train heavily ever since people have like shown me the importance, or people since YouTube has shown me the importance of it. Like you have to have sharp broadheads. It doesn't matter two blade,
yeah,
three blade, four blade, expandable. Like if your blade is not sharp, you're not doing yourself any justice. You're not getting it done with a broadhead that's not sharp. Like
yeah. And
that's
I
just
think
point
like
blank the
it's
fact.
also very irresponsible. I think.
True, very true.
Mhm.
Like you don't want to go out there and try to kill something with a butter knife. You're gonna go out there with your best steak knife and sharp tip, sharp blade all the way through and cut that thing apart.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's essentially what you're trying to do. Um, but then also to your point, like you took the time, the effort, everything to sharpen your broadhead out of the package before you even like really did anything with it, like sharpened it. you should do that with every broadhead, but I think that's part of why it was so effective on a rib. Now, a rib is not a big bone, that they're talking about like what types of bone you can get through this, that, and the other thing. When you hit big bones, that's when you're talking about deflections, like the humerus and
Yeah.
like ball joints and
Mhm.
stuff like that. You're gonna get deflections off of those because like even a single bevel is gonna have a hard time on some of those things. It depends on the angle it hits, but you know if it's not sharp, it's going to deflect. If it's
Mhm.
sharp, there's a really good chance it cuts through whatever it hits, not and it doesn't deflect. So I think that's a testament to you in the effort you put into that, um, is sharpening it. If you didn't have a sharp one, or if it was less sharp than it was that you made it, there's a chance that it could have deflected off of a rib because it does happen.
Yeah.
Now shot angle, shot placement, all that stuff, you were in a great spot for it. Um, some of those things happen where everything's sharp and you just had such a angle that it did deflect, but obviously it didn't for you. So I think your sharpness is what that kind of boiled down to. um so for me, what I use, iron will single bevel 125, with the bleeder blades. So some people call that a four blade, other two blade with a bleeder. That It doesn't really matter what you want to call it to me. Again, single bevels are a little bit different to sharpen. It's just a different technique. You can use like Tanner. You just use basically a knife sharpener, didn't you, for yours, or how
Yeah,
did you
I mean
sharpen yours?
that's exactly what I did. Like I have a knife pack, one of those field packs. It's got three different knives in it for three different purposes, whatever. They're all sharp as hell. It has a sharpener that stays in there, and I literally just like I put my broadhead in my arrow, and just set my sharpener on the bed of my pickup and just sat there and just ran it through like a normal knife and sharpened it and just kind of like worked at it. And like I wasn't getting too crazy with it because I don't want to start taking weight off of it, which I mean we're talking maybe 5 grains total. But
Mhm.
like I just made sure to like I'm counting every stroke I make on one side. So it's like I do 5 on this side and I flip it over, I'll do 5 on the other side. Flip it over, I'll do 2 on this side, flip it over to 2 on this side. Just like being conscious of what you're doing and caring, I think like makes a difference where it's like yeah, I mean, this broadhead is still sharp. I just shot a deer with this, and it's like some people could say, well, it's sharp enough. I'll put it back on and go hunt with it again. It's like I'm going to sharpen this broadhead before I go back out in the field,
Yeah,
Mhm.
just like because like I don't want that extra chance where it's like we already have enough room for error um, in like the way that we hunt and the style that we hunt. And it's like that doesn't, I don't need an extra factor playing into it.
for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, 125s, single bevel. The sharpening process, like I said, it's different. I like have to match the angle of the bevel or be close to it, that it comes out of the manufacturer. Iron Will does a really good job. That's one of their big praises is like they come really, really sharp. Like you could hunt as soon as you get it shipped to you, you put it on your arrow and you go hunt that day and you'll be just fine. Um, like I said though before, just about every arrow or broadhead you should sharpen it before you use it. So learned the sharpening process with the single bevels, being really good with that, and I think that was a big thing for me this year too is sharpening those.
Explain
And I
that because a lot of people don't know how to actually like correctly sharpen even like a double bevel like this.
Yeah, so what there's lots of different ways. Work Sharp makes like a stand sharpener thing that it comes on like an arm. So here's like your stand. There's like an arm that comes off of it and it has the different
Angles.
the different angles but different grit of like
Yeah.
the
Okay. Yeah.
diamond plate. So
Yeah.
you switch them in and out. So you start with like your lower grit like 400 and you can match the angle and just kind of slide it along that broad. And like you were saying, you go like 10 on this side and then you have to clear that side because it creates like a rounded edge. So you have to flatten that out again and make it sharp. And then you just do that on both sides. So um, that's one way of doing it. Work sharp. Like that's kind of the method Ranch Fairy has really taken over or like promoted the most. Really effective, very easy. It's all of them are simple to do, but that one is probably one of the easier ones. The method I use, it's the Stay Sharp. Uh, it's not associated to Work Sharp, but Stay Sharp. It's this guy. He just 3D prints these like little tools that you like unscrew it, insert your broadhead, um, put it in like, and he has all these tutorial videos on like how to do it with each broadhead type. And he makes them all at different angles, and so like he makes one specifically for iron wills that they come at, I think it's like 32 degrees on that bevel. And so you just put it in and then you line it up so that it gets that whole cutting surface sharpened all at once, and you just have these like diamond grit plates that you just sit there and slide it back and forth as much as you want. You like whatever grit. So like I go like it's like 600, 400, 600, whatever, and I just do that for like 3 minutes, just slide it back and forth. My wife gets driven nuts while I'm sharpening my broadheads because she's like, "That is an awful sound all the time. Why are you doing this right now?" It's like, I need sharp broadheads, honey. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so you just do that, and then you switch. You go up thousand grit, and sitting there just, and then 2,000 grit, and then you at the very end, both methods, whatever you do, you strop it so it gets it just like really smooth, so that there's less like abrasions on that cutting surface, so that there's less gaps, so like there's no like micro serrations where things can
Yeah.
get caught up in it. So you just make that as smooth of a surface as you can. um a buffing compound is what this guy with Stay Sharp promotes. So you just take some of that buffing compound, put it on like a cereal box or whatever that cardboard material is, like really like compact, not full on cardboard. I guess you could, but
Mhm.
you just put a bunch of buffing compound on there, and you just like pull it back and pull it back, and you can do that as much as you want. And it's not going to make it any sharper really, but it's going to make that surface more smooth. And so, by the end of it, you could have he does these tests with the sharpness test. I forget what that tool is called, but you put it on there, and it's like he by the end of it, you test it, and it's like sharper than like a utility knife, and it's like the lower the number the better, because it takes less amount of weight to get it to cut. um by the end of it, you can get it down to like low double digits of like, you barely have to press that thing down, and it's cutting through this wire, and it tells you it's like super super sharp. So that's the goal with every broadhead, is you want them to be like that sharp, where it's as sharp or more sharp than a utility knife. And so
Mhm.
um that I use the Stay Sharp like roller method. If and when I switch broadheads, it's going to be a different method. I might switch to that Work Sharp, because then that's like all encompassing every broadhead type. I can use the Work Sharp to sharpen that, instead of having to buy different rollers and having to work around all that. So um I am looking, like I said before, I'm looking to possibly switch uh, broadhead types. I'm definitely going to go up in weight. I'm a big guy, a big heavy arrow guy. So, the sharper, the heavier the broadhead, the better for me. Obviously, I'm not going to go a 500 grain broadhead, but I was looking at 225s before the season started. I might go 225, 250, something like that next year.
Mhm.
Um, I also hit bone. I went through. I showed that in my video. I went through the scapula on the entry side, and then it went through a rib on the exit side, and then my second shot went in through a rib and out through a rib. Neither one had any issue, and I think the single bevel, that's the biggest thing. I mean, it would have done it with a double bevel. It would have gone through if it were sharp, but that single bevel, it just destroyed that shoulder blade. Like, it left like a bullet hole. And so you
Yeah.
don't get that with very many, like, you don't get that really with expandables or other blades, other types of double bevel. So really really pleased with that, and I think that's another like affirmation that I'm probably going to be a single bevel guy until I get proven that something is way better. And so for me,
Hmm.
that's where I'm gonna stay is in the single bevel world, and my only thing that's gonna change is the shape, I guess. Those 3-to-1s that are a lot more steep, more penetration there, longer broadhead. Um, so those angles and angle of attack and weight are the only things that are really gonna change as far as my broadhead selection.
It's
So,
very much like old arrowheads that you find, like
mhm,
artifactual arrowheads. Where it's like a lot of them were 2 to 3 inches in length. You know, some of them were maybe a little bit shorter, but like a lot of them were pretty large, because I mean they were used for gigantic animals like
mhm,
buffalo or bison, um, out on the freaking prairie, and elk back in the day. They're using traditional bows, stick bows.
Hmm.
Um, so that's another thing that I've thought about too is bigger. I mean, I guess longer.
yeah,
Because I mean, these are pretty dang short. They're pretty wide, but I mean, they're about as wide as they are long
mhm,
if you really look at it. So
yeah,
I don't know. There's so many rabbit holes that you can get into when it comes to arrows,
oh yeah.
broadheads, and it's like this is the best way to do it. No, this is the best way to do it. Well, no, this is the best way to do it. It's like you should have a really light arrow. You should have a really heavy arrow. It's like no, middle of the pack's the best, and it's like it's all personal preference. What works for you? Like maybe there's science that says one's better than the other. We're not going to get into that today. But um, I mean, like I very much appreciate Justin making this arrow for me and the other arrows that I have made for him. And it's like, he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I have no idea. Do something." And he did it. And he put, from what I had on these arrows originally, he put longer vanes on them. He did
Hmm.
the helical on them, and then he put a heavier bushing in the uh, the tip end, and then he put a longer bushing in the knock end. So my arrows aren't very heavy. If I were to guess, my total weight with the broadhead's probably just under 400. If I were to guess, I'd say probably 380 to 400 in that range. But also, like, it works for me. And as I upgrade my bow, like, I'll probably get a lot more into aerodynamics and aero science
Hmm.
when I'm able to have like a higher uh like FPS, because I have like right, it's my draw weight's like 71 pounds I think, but I think my speed of my arrow is like 280 maybe, like it's not super duper fast,
Hmm.
but it's fast enough to get the job done even on if it was a mature buck, like it absolutely would get the job done. But like there are bows out there, like I think Justin's, when we tested his with, I think is it a sonogram, is that what that was called?
Yeah, I forget what it was, but yeah,
But Justin's was like 340, and mine was like I wasn't even like sniffing 300 when I first had this bow, and I was like,
yeah,
That's a little alarming."
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, about an hour and a half into it, Brooks, Tanner, any questions about the gear that we've talked about? Any comments?
I don't think so. I think we
No?
covered it pretty well.
Yeah,
Um, I
the
kind of got
the
lost.
important stuff.
Yeah,
right.
I got kind of got lost in the broadhead talk. I'm like, I need to get down this rabbit hole.
It's exciting. It's something where I, I will admit it made me have some self-doubts going into this season because it was like because I really wanted those heavier the heavier broadheads and the different length and the different all this other stuff and I was like I know that these broadheads are good enough because my first buck I shot was a 100 grain double bevel iron will, and so it's like I know 125 grain is still going to be just as good. They're going to be probably better. They're sharper than my double bevels because I didn't care about sharpening them because I always heard, oh, they're plenty sharp. Well, you still have to sharpen them. I was a dummy, you know. Okay, so learn that lesson. I didn't learn it the hard way, but I learned the lesson like, oh crap, I need to make sure that my rod heads are sharp. So it's like I shouldn't have had as much doubt as I did, but it's like I feel like I could still be doing better. But it's like, no, you're fine. Like at the end of all of it, does it kill or does it not kill? Like,
Yeah.
and you of the controllable factors, does it kill, does it not kill? You can talk about shot placement and all this other stuff where, those are controllables by the human, but like, is your equipment suited to kill or is it not? If
Yeah.
it's good enough to kill, use it. If it's not good enough to kill, don't use it. So like, you know, everybody can always say right or wrong on X, Y, and Z factors, but like, does it kill, does it not kill? That's what it boils down to.
Here's
So
the beauty about full-fledged archery is you can say, build me arrows. And you say, okay, what do you want? I don't have any idea. You do it. It's like, okay, do you want a recommendation? Yes. Here's my recommendation. Okay, do it. Okay, he does it. And it works out. It's not like Justin saying, well, I only do arrows that are going to be 450 to 500 grains, pal. So if you want that light stuff, hit the road, Jack. No,
Yeah.
he's gonna like it. It's what do you want as a customer? I want this, I want helical, I want non-helical. Like I just want a basic ass arrow, make it to where I can shoot it out of my bow and it goes like that. So that's one of the better things I think about Full Fletch, and that it's a one-man show and it's something that he's really passionate about. And for like this is something that I wanted to bring up last week or this week or whatever, is the last 4 years I have been asked by Justin so many times about different business ideas. He's like, we should start a landscaping company. We should do this. We should start our own bow shop. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And he finally was like, I just want to build arrows because it's something that like it's a hobby. He's passionate about it, and he just did it. And it's like it's cool to see, and like I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm happy, like really excited to be a part of it, and like share these experiences with him. And now like Brooks is getting into it. Like Brooks saying, "Hey, I didn't grow up in a hunting family, but like he has a buddy that got him into hunting. Like he's been very vocal with Justin about like getting into hunting, and they talk all the time. And now he's like involved like with me a little bit, and it's like it's pretty cool to see. So um, I'm really excited to see where the podcast goes, where the content goes, and like I'm really excited to be a small part of it, and like get you some arrows, folks. Get you some arrows.
I appreciate it. I
Tanner
appreciate
couldn't have said any better, or I couldn't have said any better. Whatever the phrase is, I don't know.
it. It was well
We know
said.
what you're saying.
We know. We went JUCO. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yes, you
can't
guys
read.
did.
I can't read good,
I can't read.
but I sure know how to throw a baseball.
Oh man.
And I know how to run
Lord.
a 69.
Yeah,
Oh man.
Lord, oh God, Brooks, what are you doing to me? Oh man, good
PTSD.
memories. Yeah, a
PTSD
lot
for
of good
you
memories
boys.
between the three of us with
Yep.
that place. But we didn't get into some of the stuff we wanted to talk about completely, but I think coming up we will. Um, Justin, I think, will be able to kind of lead us in more than that. He's got the big brain between the three of us and has good ideas. So
Yeah. I don't know. I've been like battling the types of podcasts where it's like, there's the types that they have segments and they like beginning, middle, and you kind of know what you're getting every episode. And then there's like the Joe Rogan podcast where it's like he doesn't have a
just
script
free ball
of,
it.
yeah,
Just
like
free ball it.
he has a couple questions where he knows he wants to answer them or ask them and get them answered at some point in the podcast, but like he doesn't be like, okay, now this part of the podcast we always ask every guest, like, what about this, what about that? It's like, you know I don't know what I want to do with it. We're just going with it as they come, but so far just keep it fun, make it fun.
Keep it light, yeah,
Yeah,
and be educational.
as much as we can. We've said it from the beginning. We are not the professionals.
Yeah.
So
Nope.
We can give you what our thoughts are, and you can agree or you can disagree. And guess what? That's the beauty of being an American. We don't always have to agree, but at the end of the day, we'll get along.
yeah. So I guess with that, there's nothing else you guys have. We'll close it out. And any final thoughts?
um, I don't know. I don't think
I'm
so.
good. I'm
Awesome.
good.
Um,
Take us home. Take
Well,
us home.
that was episode 4. Thanks for listening. We'll
oh,
catch you.
oh, I got
Oh,
something.
Brooks. Yeah, let's hear it.
Colorado folks, vote no
Yep.
on Prop 127.
Oh yeah.
Vote no. Vote
Vote
no.
no
No.
127. We gotta close with that or talk about
Yep.
that at some point of everyone until the election's over. So
Yeah.
um
We got 2 more
awesome.
weeks.
Yeah,
Less than 2 weeks now.
no on 127, Colorado folks.
Yep.
So with that, we'll close it out. Thanks for listening. Full Fledged Podcast episode. Oh, this one was episode 4. Tanner and I did 3 the other day. It is up as of last night, this morning. So episode 4 just done. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.